Good Monday morning. We are continuing our walk through the New Testament. It seems like we started in John 1:1, went all the way through the Gospel of John, all the way through Luke's account of the Acts of the Apostles. And now we're well into chapter 2 of the letter to the Roman Christians. And I am I'm consistently amazed every time I read through this letter at how appropriate it is, even for the church today, maybe especially for the church today. So he's continuing his his bigger argument with the idea that God is just and fair. There is nothing about him that isn't just. And his justice demands a balanced scale. His justice requires um, the balance of the accounts. My problem is I have incurred a debt that God's justice demands is paid. And Paul's whole point here in chapters 1, 2, and 3, especially, is every single human being that has grown up has crossed, trespassed, transgressed the laws of God and even their own conscience. Well, let's pick it up here in chapter 2. We'll read verses 11, 12, and 13. He says, "For there is no partiality with God, for all who have sinned without the law will also perish without the law, and all who have sinned under the law will be judged by the law. For it is not the hearers of the law who are just before God, but the doers of the law will be justified. And the doers of the law are justified because they have faith. The doer of the law is justified because his scale isn't out of balance." And he says there is no partiality with God. I love this idea that if an individual has never heard of the Ten Commandments, God is not going to use the Ten Commandments to judge them. If a person has never heard of thou shalt not steal or any of the old law describing and outlining, identifying the definitions that God has for actions that are righteous and actions that are wicked, they've never heard of that. That's not what he's going to use to judge them. He'll use a different criteria to judge them. He's not going to judge people by what they don't know. That's Paul's point. The problem, it gets pretty clear very quickly, and that is I've crossed my own conscience. Every people group in the world has their own set of rules, things that ought to be done and things that ought not to be done. And that's what God's going to use to judge every human being on Judgment Day. What did you know was right and what did you know was wrong? There's no partiality with him. He doesn't show favoritism. And Paul's point is he's not going to show favoritism to the Jew, and he's not going to show favoritism to the Gentile. He's going to treat every human being, every individual, with justice and fairness. And so no one is going to be able to point their finger at God and say, that wasn't fair, because his justice is without partiality. He doesn't have a favorite color of skin. He doesn't have a favorite gender. He doesn't have a favorite. He judges every single person, man or woman, red, yellow, black, and white. Every person has the same value. Every person will be judged by the same criteria. What did they know? If they knew the law of Moses, they'll be judged by the law of Moses. They didn't know the law of Moses, they won't be judged by the law of Moses. They'll be judged by what they knew. That is an awesome fairness for our judge. And we can trust him. We can trust him to know our intent. We can trust him to know what's in our heart. And we can trust him to know what's right. So as you move through your day and your work week, May God bless you with this confidence. He knows you and he loves you. And we love you too.